Hey everyone, the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notifications down below if you haven't already. Good morning, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. I am Kevin, your host. Behind me, as usual, the beautiful wagon wheel, and up here, hopefully, a little wisdom. This morning, I wanted to bring to the surface something that's been on my mind as of recent. September 11th just went by, and if you've seen a previous video where I talk about veteran suicide, today actually marks the 22-year anniversary of my father's suicide. And it happened, September 11th, 2001. This happened on September 15th. Today is the 14th, but today is the day that I received the phone call from my mom 22 years ago that asking me if I've seen Dad and that he's been missing. So it's typically a tougher time of year for me, but I have to say, as I've been kind of going through this journey with altering belief systems and whatnot based on the twin flame separation, it's helped me really deal with this. And I just wanted to talk about separation, for instance, and that can be the death of somebody, or in our case, our twin soul going a different direction, and how we cannot let the separation derail us in our lives. And if there's been any preparation, I suppose, for me on this journey, it has been the death of my dad in that manner. I sadly was the one that found him. He shot himself, and I suppose I really don't need to describe the rest of the details, but it's an image that I've never been able to unsee. And we talk about the mental looping aspects, where we're constantly in a negative spin on it. For roughly about 19 years, I blame myself for it, because a week earlier I had unknowingly came home when he was about to go do it. Again, if you want to go back in time and listen to the video as the details of it, I'll just give you the quick synopsis. He used a gun that the trigger mechanism was very hard to pull. And on that day that I came home, the Friday before, he was going to go do it. And the details, again, as I said, are in that other video. So for 19 years, I looped about me blaming me for something that was completely out of my control. And so similarly, on our journey here, there are so many elements that we have to understand in this separation that are completely out of our control. And the first and foremost is the free will of what others are doing, and in this case, our divine masculine. And that we are in a position where we must not blame ourselves for this, as much as, if any of you guys have been like me, I took a lot of the things that I had said and had deep regret for that, and blamed myself again for pushing her away, and not understanding the bigger picture here, that the separation, the no contact, that all of it is part of this plan. And it's a self-actualizing and realization that I believe all of us must come to, that we have to go through this. Now, how is that relative to what happened with my dad? If I were to look at divine plans and things of that nature, to me, it was just a situation that, I guess forcibly, I was 24 at the time, but still young and immature nonetheless, forcibly to kick me out of the nest, so to speak, and embark on this journey without that fatherly figure in my life. I had free will in those 19 years, obviously, afterwards, where I just completely blamed myself to take a different direction. But I turned to alcohol. I lost a lot of friends along the way. I allowed the depression to completely consume me. And, I look at it now and I chuckle a little bit, just because of how I'm able to conceptualize the life lessons of this journey that I'm on now currently, and I wish I had the skill set back then, but the reality is I didn't. But in a way, it's prepared me mentally for this, um, by letting go, by just releasing. I don't need to carry around, excuse the pun here, the dead weight of somebody else's choices. I just have to accept those choices for theirs and theirs alone. They have their reasons. My dad had his reasons. Life was just too daunting to live. And as somebody that has had some very negative thoughts after my ex has left me, I get it. At some point, I think when your ability to believe, to have hope, to persevere, all of that energy inside of you dissipates, and the negative energy just overcomes and consumes you. So this is just about allowing the separation to run its course. And I believe, per this book, I'm going to read some parts in it that'll help with maybe simplifying it so the task doesn't seem so daunting. And if we're over consuming stuff on, things like YouTube videos like mine, videos that others put out, it's like they're kind of striking the fear of it into you, like you gotta stop thinking about her altogether. And I don't think, I disagree on that truth. I think if you're in a position where you can think about them maybe down the road in a completely loving way, or if you're able to turn around something that you deemed to be negative that they said to you, like how can you say that, into, well, what was the true meaning behind that? I don't think that that's, again, looping. I think looping is staying in a negative mindset where you're just mad at the world, thinking there's no hope, thinking you're never going to be able to get over this and move past it. That to me is what would be a negative looping that has no place of compassion or love inside of you. Now, that's different than obsessive thinking about them in the future versus just having a happy moment of you guys. Maybe, like, I have a vision that I see in my sights over and over again, and I was up on a rock cliff in one of my shorts video where we're holding hands and just looking at the sun. I don't see anything wrong with that vision. It's a beautiful vision of me thinking of her in a loving way of us being together. So this book here, again, The Twin Souls, really kind of cuts through this. And I'm going to just read to you about chapter 4, which is, come on. Oh, excuse me, Twin Souls in Conflict. And then chapter 4, well, we'll skip that part. Chapter 4, anyway, is about preparing yourself to meet the twin. So how can we help ourselves to become such people ready for our twin? And this goes for union or reunion. Number 1, we can resolve to cultivate our inner joy, something we all possess, hidden in our depth. Joy is our true nature, always present beneath the false coverings. The reach for the true self will help us to realize that we are whole beings, capable of finding satisfaction in our lives with or without the help of another. Becoming a whole person. Again, what we constantly stress in this twin flame journey when we're in separation is becoming whole and being okay with it just you. Number 2, we can accept our material things as they are without feeling that we will ever be happy until we have a better car, better clothes, a redecorated home, and so on. We can loosen our grip on materiality, realizing that a new possession brings pleasure for only a short amount of time, whereas every step in knowledge and consciousness is a lasting gain. And again, with the self-realization, or if you guys have been like me, when I get outside in nature, I notice things much differently. The birds, the wind, insects even. And the idea that I, quote unquote, need a better car, better house, better life, that's all fading into the distance. Number 3, we can cultivate a discipline that will open us to our spiritual selves. Maybe making YouTube videos. This could be a meditation, yoga, Tai Chi study under a spiritual teacher, or attendance at some of the many growth seminars now available. Number 4, we can work toward finding our life path and developing our God-given talents, honoring our gifts in whatever directions they lie. Spiritual advancement in the same whether our life work be our profession or work that we do in our spare time. Our greatest talent may find expression within the home, in raising secure children and building a happy family. Number 5, we care for our bodies. Ooh, this is a good one. Respecting them, listening to them, purifying them through clean habits, good food, exercise, and avoidance of gluttony. We can purify our emotions by turning our feelings toward love and away from gossip or spitefulness. Again, the negative looping aspect. And we can purify our minds by avoiding the crude and the violent, by following some aesthetic pursuits and raising our thoughts to the appreciation and beauty and bounty of life. Number 6, we can pay attention to the images and ideas that we are exposed to, realizing that everything we take into our minds a permanent part of us and reflects itself in our lives in some way. It is particularly important in this age of excessive noise to be attentive to the sound stimuli we allow in, for the ear is the gateway to our brain and the entire nervous system. The music of Mozart is food for the soul as well as the brain. Loud rock music, in contrast, is now known to be responsible for widespread ear damage. And I believe when they're referencing ear damage, it transcends just the idea of it hurting your ear. The vibration of it, and I've been watching, I believe it's 432 hertz is the natural sound of music, and we tune everything to 440 now, which kind of, it's a disruptor. And it's been said if you can control the music, you can control society. Well, the natural tone of music is off just a little bit, so maybe that's why society's a little cray-cray. Number 7, we can take the time for some involvement with nature, the great source of food for the spirit, whether it be gardening, walking in the woods, swimming in the sea, enjoying the rain, turning our face up to it and feeling the connection between earth and sky. As Emerson has said, we cut ourselves off from nature at our peril. Number 8, we find individuals or a group needing our help, whether it be tutoring students or driving those in need of transportation, passing on our talents and sharing our assets in some way. I took up coaching my son's 5th grade team, one of the most enjoyable and beautiful things that I never saw myself doing, and enjoying it thoroughly. It may be working in centers for the homeless, visiting the sick, caring for neglected children. There are hundreds of such ways to develop the soul satisfaction of service and to grow through contact at the level of human need. So those are 8 different ways. And I want to stress on the difference between what I'm getting out of this book and the other things that I'm hearing on YouTube, especially for services that you need to pay for to, find enlightenment through this. I don't know if the messages come across as sincere. They may. I haven't been a part of any of the groups on there that you actually have to pay for, because again, I'm really listening to my own internal guidance system on this, and so far it hasn't failed me. It's led me down roads to realize that a change needs to be had, but that's far different than taking you down a road where you might, run into a tree from the metaphorical sense. So again, with the separation, you guys, be kind to yourself on this, and don't blame yourself for elements out of your control, and try to truly accept in every single aspect that all of this was supposed to happen this way, and let that ease the separation anxiety that probably a lot of us are still feeling to some degree. I know it's certainly helped with me, and take it from a guy that lost his dad in a very tragic and challenging way, hanging on to negative looping thoughts. I look back 19 years of my life. I sat there and blamed myself, and it's like, wow. And I think of all the events during those 19 years. I'm also beginning to really believe that the universe puts in front of you different scenarios to nudge you along, but also to get you to change. And I had multiple opportunities to see it from a different light. I just didn't want to hear it. I would have rather gone out and got drunk and blind myself and booze and bullshit than to actually, put the brakes on and stop. But it's a life's journey. It's a school. We're all here to learn. I hope I'm a teacher for all of you, that it helps soothe my soul to know that you guys are resonating with this, and it also helps soothe my soul in the aspect that I'm not alone. I know that when I first learned about suicide and, you know, the emotions with it. I couldn't really connect with anybody. You know, people would come up and say the right thing, I'm sorry about your dad and blah, blah, blah. But much like this journey, there was no emotional connection until my uncle, who had the exact same situation. His father took his life after shooting him and he found him. He came to me and talked to me. And to just not feel like you're alone in this journey was great medicine. So I hope I can be that medicine for you guys. I love you. Later.